Okay, first and foremost, I want to give all honors and praises and glory belongs to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabashai, Bahasham, Wahar, Vakar, Quadash. The name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. His son's name is Yahabashai, in who I reverence, and honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth, and to the hopeful elect across the globe, and to the few, the very few brothers and sisters listening and also learning in the hopes of being saved within these last days. Right? This lesson is going to go back to basics again. Need to get into the basics. Our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. They're looking for every other philosophy underneath the sun, every other philosophy except the scriptures. And the Lord Yahushua has blinded the minds of many of our people to believe they're everything else except from what the scriptures say they are. So we're going to go to Hosea 4 and 6. Okay, Selassie, Haile Selassie, he wasn't even of our nation, right? Some say he wasn't. I don't believe he's Ethiopian. What was he? East Indian, paraphrasing, right? But he was not of our nation. Okay, he was set up just like the other leaders. Okay, Marcus Garvey, which I want to talk about, he was set up. Okay, these men were set up. Okay, to what? Lead our people astray. Louis Farrakhan is set up. Okay, Khalid Muhammad, they were all set up, right? Because Esau, he always created the controlled opposition, so our people never wake up, right? So let's go to Hosea 4 and 6. For my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and the same knowledge that our people lack, this is what we're trying to give you, right? My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because they has rejected knowledge. Our people reject what the scriptures are saying, right? The first thing they say, I don't believe in that Bible. Who wrote that? You know, white. That's the first thing they say. The white man wrote that. It's been changed. Then you ask them, well, where has it been changed? And they can't tell you. You know, it's just something they've heard. It's like a mantra. Oh, it's been changed. And you ask them, well, show me where it's been changed. Then the first thing they say, well, how many printouts? How many Bibles? There's many in different languages. Okay, just like I'm sure you have a Quran. Okay, in different countries, even though what is it? The same, but the Bible is printed in what different languages? The Hebrew, the Latin, and the Greek. So my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Why? Because our people reject knowledge. So Yahushua will reject them, and that's when you see judgments happening to our people, because they reject knowledge, which is able to make them wise unto salvation. They reject it. They fan their hand. Sin that has forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. Right? And that's why our people are getting put to death on the streets, and all types of madness is happening. Okay, and you ask our people, you line up 3 or 4 of our people. I gotta stop saying that our people, Israelites. What would they say? One would say he's, you know, into Buddhism. Another would say he's into Kemet. Another would say Islam. This is how destroyed our people are. Right? And as long as you're in that state, Esau's and these other nations got the one up. Go to Jeremiah, and where did this start? Go to Jeremiah 17 and 4. And thou even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage. So we discontinue, we stop, we cease from our heritage for a part of time. Right? At one point it became illegal to read the Bible in slavery. And if you were going to read it, it would be obey your master. Right? And thou even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage. And what's our heritage? We're Israelites. Right? That I gave thee. So there was a part of time within history where we discontinue from who we actually were. Right? From the heritage I gave thee. Because that is our heritage. We're Israelites. That descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But that was what beaten out of us, what, in a time of slavery. Okay. Like their movies. What's your name? Toby. What's your name? Toby. And Kunta Kinte, their movies. Right? Yes, we had Hebrew names. Right? But over time, in the period of slavery, what happened? Okay. Our people were destroyed. They started naming themselves after these different gods, these are different idols. That I gave thee, and now will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, which was what, America and different lands. Okay. For you have kindled a fire in my anger which shall burn forever, but it's not going to burn forever because we have mercy through Yahweh Yahushua. But this shows you how angry the Lord Yahushua was. Right? And that wrath did burn for a long time. Right? When you saw slavery, when you saw the hangings and the lynchings and the burnings and women being set on by dogs and people being beat by police, that was a punishment. And a lot of that punishment was because, what did those same individuals say back when Yahushua was on the scene? They said, let his blood be upon him and our children. So even slavery, when you had dogs being sicked on our people and all these different things happening, why was that? Because that was that same generation that were against Yahushua. Okay. So now we're going to go to Deuteronomy 20. It's good we get into these scriptures because I haven't been in this for a long time. So now let's go to Deuteronomy 28. It's just Deuteronomy 28. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently, right, unto the voice of the Lord, Jehovah shall thy power to observe and to do all his commandments. That's all we needed to do. Right? Just be obedient to what Yahushua said. Okay? If thou shalt hearken unto his commandments. Right? Unto the voice of the Lord, and to observe and do his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So we would have been set on high. We would have been blessed in everything we would have done. And all these blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Right? If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord, Jehovah shall thy power. Right? So we would have been blessed. Blessing means increasement. We would have been increasing everything we put our hand to. And let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, Yahushua, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So this was said, if we would not do which was commanded of us by Moses, written within the law, then the curses would come. Okay, which was still under them curses. Okay. But them curses are going to be what? Wiped away. Okay? Curse should I be in the city. Curse should I be in the field. Curse should I be in the basket of thy store. So wherever you would go, right? There'd be anguish. There'd be some type of trouble. In other words, nothing. You notice throughout the day, I could never say throughout the day, oh, no brother can say that. No sister, no Israelite can say the day went perfect. No. There's always something. Why? Because that's part of them curses. Okay. That's part. This shows you who the Israelites are. Okay. The fruit of thy land and the increase of thy king and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shall I be when thou comest in. Cursed shall I be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, rebuke. See, cursing and vexation. Right? So there be vex. A lot of things you do, there's always a vexation to it. Rebuke and all that thou settest thy hand to do, until thou be destroyed, until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy own doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. And when you jump to Deuteronomy 28 and 41, thou shalt beget sons and daughters. You give birth to what? Sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them. Why? Because they be carried off to another plantation. Right? When people think slavery, they just think North Carolina, Memphis. No, it was all around. New York. New York had slaves. They were just moved around. Chicago had slaves. Philadelphia had slaves. They all had slaves. Thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity as soon as they were born. And that's why you got images of what babies, picking cotton. Okay. Verse 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. That still stands. Today. Who's lending to us? Esau. Right? Oh man. Thou shalt thou shalt get up very, and thee shall get up very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him, because he owns what, all the banks. Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? He shall be the head, thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, follow thee, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy power to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. Right? And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. But it's not going to be upon us forever. Why? Because we have Yahweh Shai. But it says, you know, it's for a sign. So the condition, when our people ask, why are we in this condition? All you need to do is just read Deuteronomy 28 and 28 and 15. And it gives us a synonymous, I don't know if I'm saying it. I said a synonymous, I can't even pronounce it right. It gives us an account, okay? It gives us an account of why we're in this condition, okay? So all the answers, they're in the scriptures. You got our people, what's the meaning of life? Why are we here? Why do we? It's all in the scriptures. But the scripture says not all other people are going to understand this truth, okay? And the reason why people can't understand it, let's go to Romans. I'm just flying with the spirit. Nothing's been written down. Go to Romans 10 and 4. Start at 3. Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down our altars. So our own people had a history of killing the prophets. That's why men keep talking about Esau. It was not Esau that away. It was our own people. That's what men are not teaching you. They're trying to divert you because they're them same wicked men. You have counterfeits in this truth. Let's read that again. No, they have killed thy prophets. Yes, Israelites. This is Paul speaking. Okay, and this is really him quoting, where was it? Was it Chronicles? I think Chronicles or Kings, where, Elijah was saying this. Right? He was quoting what the Old Testament. And dig down our altars. Okay, and I am left alone and they seek my life. They were seeking Elijah's life. Remember, you had many prophets, like 400 prophets of Baal. Okay, that were coming up against Elijah. And it's the same thing again today. You got prophets of Baal. You got righteous prophets and you got prophets of Baal. And they seek my life. But what saith the answer of the Most High unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men. 7,000. We know there's 144,000 of the elect, so the 7,000 it represents completion. Because numbers have there's such thing as a numerable, can't even pronounce it. Numerical, okay. What's it? Numbers, right? Numerical. I don't know if I'm saying it right. My English ain't too good. Okay. Well, anyway, English is a bastard tongue anyway. Who have not bowed their knee to the image of Baal. So you have these men that have not bowed down. How men want you to do that. That's why most of these, I'm not saying all of the camps, most of these camps have bowed their knee to Baal. You just can't see it. And if you can't pray, most of these camps, yes, have bowed their knee to Baal. They're doing the dirty work of what? Esau and Satan. They've bowed that knee. They've made it they've made this a worldwide type of thing, a worldly thing. When the truth was never supposed to be a worldly thing. So they've bowed their knee to what? The image of Baal. And that would tie in with what? Your system, the RFID chip. They're in other words, they're in league with what? The beast. Even so that at this present time that we're living, also there is a remnant according to election. So yes, there's a remnant out there according to the election of grace. Right? There's a remnant. Okay? And even your Marcus Garvey's, yeah, they bowed their knees to Baal. Marcus Garvey, he was working for the other side. Where did he go to? It was Birkbeck. I believe it's called Birkbeck University. Right? Where he learned. Right? Not to say, well, there's anything wrong with anyone that goes to university. But he was raised up under what? The idolatries of Esau. Esau gave him that to run with. To fool our people. In other words, he wasn't. See, a lot of men are going to get offended. Yes, he was an agent for Esau to keep our people down, to keep them not knowing who they are. You telling me this individual was well studied and he never knew about the Israelites? Are you telling me that? It was all a plan to bring those from America back to Africa, right? While you had them imposters still in our land, while they're having you thinking you're African when you're not. And Africa comes from what? Africa's Scipio Leo Africanus, who was an Edomite that took down what? Hannibal, who was an Israelite. So that's what Marcus Garvey was set up to do, to fool our people. I know you don't want to say, oh, you want to say, oh, but no. No, that's what, just study. He was set up, right? He was doing the bidding of the enemy. And that was never going to work out. We're not African, we're Israelites, right? Even so, at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. There's a remnant according to the election of grace, which is mercy. Okay? And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more of grace. So it's not just a thing of works, because then it wouldn't be grace, would it? Right? We needed that grace because we couldn't rely on works itself. Why? Because we were in what? Sinful flesh. So it is down to grace. Even though we still do show our faith by works. When it is no more grace, other works, work is no more work. What then? Israel have not obtained which he seeketh for. Okay? And this is going into the 2/3 of the wicked of our people. They have not obtained, held on to what they're seeking for, which is this truth. Because Esau has pushed out all these other philosophies to have our people lost. There's a reason why these things are pushed out. There's a reason why religions are pushed out. A word from what? Religio, to keep back to what? To hold back, to restrain. Okay? And legio is from what? Chain. A chain. From what? Legion. Back. To keep you back. To keep you in chains. To have your mind in chains. To not knowing who you are. That's why it's a miracle to the brothers that have fully woken up to this truth and have the understanding. That's a miracle in itself. Because Esau completely tried to do away with us. And this truth, he's paid millions upon millions and millions to get rid of this truth. Israel have not obtained what you seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. So it says the election have obtained this truth, but the rest were blinded. That's why you're going to have our people, they may even hear about this truth, but they're going to continue to what? Delve into Christianity, okay? Delve into Kemetism, or whatever philosophy it may be. Because it wasn't given to them. Okay? They could not seek it, but the election have obtained it and the rest were blinded. So the election, you have an elect, have obtained this truth. Right? And they got rid of anything else that they had before this truth. The philosophies, they got rid of it. And they held on to this truth. They didn't try to merge the world or any philosophy with this truth. Because you can't merge. You can't merge it. The scripture says that seek out the book of the Lord Yahushua. You cannot make this book with any other book. Okay? And the rest were blinded. So the rest of our people, they're going to be blinded. Right? Yahushua kept them blind. Verse 8, according as it is written, the Master have given them spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see. And where's that written? Again in the Old Testament. So there'll be a lot of times, all throughout the New Testament, the prophets, what were they quoting? They were quoting the Old Testament a lot of the time. So the election have, Israel have not obtained which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, the Master have given them the spirit of slumber. Right? Eyes that they should not see, and eyes that they should not hear. Slumber is when you're in a lackadaisical state. You don't know what's going on. And it says, unto this day. Right? So unto this day, our people still are not going to get it. No matter how much you could read the scriptures all day long to someone. If Yahushua has not opened up their mind, they're just not going to get it. Okay? And David said, let their table be made a snare. And this is referring to somewhere in Psalms. Okay, Psalms 30, somewhere in Psalms 30. And a trap and a stumbling block. So you're going to have the wicked of our people that pick up this book, this Bible, and it's going to be what? Their table, where you eat upon, is going to be a snare and a trap and a stumbling block, which is what? A gin for the hill. Okay, and a recompense unto them. It's going to trip them up. And it's going to be a recompense unto what? Their own wickedness. Okay. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. Okay. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? The Most High forbid, but rather through their fall salvation. So this is all set up in the spirit. You would have to have those that didn't believe. So what the Gentiles could be bringing, the Gentile Israelite foreigners. For their full salvation is coming to the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy. And that's why you had particular base men. Scriptures talk about it in Acts. Don't know if I can find it. Bear me just a minute. It was somewhere in Acts. Right on it, this is Acts 17 and 4. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and of devout Greeks, a great multitude. The Greeks were Israelites, and of chief women not a few. But the Jews which believe not, you see, since they're falling away. And you've got to consider, yeah, a lot of these Jews, they were raised in the customs of what? Being Jews. Right? And you also had them Jews in Jerusalem. But Jews which believe not move with envy, because you had synagogues in these regions as well. In Thessalonica, different regions you had synagogues. You didn't just have synagogues in Jerusalem. You had synagogues everywhere. Right? It tells you that in somewhere in Acts 12, in Stephen, you had the synagogues, the Libertines, Cyrenians, and so forth. But the Jews which believe not move with envy. So because they didn't believe, but they were still moved with envy, that you had Israelite foreigners waking up, and them same individuals, they're back here again today, murmuring about the tribes, murmuring about the Israelite foreigners. Moved with envy, took unto them certain lewd fellows. So these were lewd, base. They were lewd and very base. They were very, what do they call it? There's such a thing where you can have bronze but no brains. Okay, they were very, very street. These were like hoodlums, right? Lewd fellows of the baser sort, and gathered a company that set all the city on an uproar and assaulted the house of Jason, right? These were carnal men. And all these carnal men, they're back here again today as well. Okay, and sought to bring them out to the people. And when they found him not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, these have turned the world upside down and have come hither also. Complaining. Right? This what you be considered your field Negroes. Okay? It's like your house Negroes. Okay? Whom Jason have received, these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar. They were complaining, saying they're not doing what Caesar tells them to do. They were complaining. Caesar was their father. That's why it says in John 8:44, ye of your father the devil, and the lust of your father will you do. He was a murderer from the beginning. Right? And it says, whom Jason have received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is no other king. Okay. One. Okay. Yahweh. Okay. So they were feeling a particular way of those that were preaching Yahweh. I'm sure they were feeling a particular way. And they troubled the people and the rulers of the city. So you had those, and them same Israelites are back here again today. They tried to stir up the city and the rulers of the city when they heard these things. Right? So you always had those that couldn't understand the truth. They weren't accepting Yahweh Shai, and other Israelite foreigners that were waking up, they were trying to stop that. Why? Because it wasn't given to them. So this truth is not, just because you're an Israelite, just because you know you're an Israelite, it doesn't make you of the elect. That's why we say hopeful elect. Okay? A few more scriptures and we'll shut off. Let's go to Matthew's. Before we go to Matthew, let's go to Corinthians. Because of course we want our people to get it, but not all of our people are going to get it. This is 2 Corinthians 4 and 3. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost. So ultimately it was Yahweh Shai that done that. It's hid to them that are lost. Okay. In whom the power of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not. Esau, Satan. And that's why he pushes out these different bugged out videos. You know, the Adonikim, you know, aliens, you know, just different philosophies. You know, he pushes out the Book of Negas, all these different, the Book of the Dead, right? The 48 Laws of Ma'at. Which all that is just, all that's witchcraft, basically. Christianity. This is why these things, why do you think there's a church in every Israelite neighborhood? There's a church, more than one, to keep you down, to keep you lost, to keep you in subjection to the enemy, to keep you not knowing who you are. How is it you're going to church, you have a Bible in your hand, you don't even know you're an Israelite, you don't even know salvation is for you, but you're going to church? So what have they been teaching you? They're not teaching you who you are. They're teaching you them imposters in our land. They're Israel and you're African. That's what they're teaching you. While you got the Bible in your hand and it's for you. And whom the power of this world have blinded the minds of them which believe not. So Satan has blinded the minds of those that don't believe in this truth. That's why you got our people calling themselves black, Nubian. Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Mashiach, who is the image of the Most High, should shine unto them. Right? But the Lord doesn't want it that way. Okay, let's go to Matthew 10. That's why you got to hold on to this truth. That's why you got to value. That's why we got to value this truth. Let's go to Matthew 13. Okay. Matthew 13 and 9. Whoever has to hear, let him hear. Spiritual ears to receive this. And disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? They wanted to know, why are you always speaking to them in a mystery, in secret, in dark sayings, in a riddle? He answered and said unto them, because it's given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the Most High, of heaven, Salakia. But to them it is not given. So Yahweh said, because it's given unto you, not them. So that's even a separation, that's even a division within the truth. It was given to a certain remnant to know, to understand the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. But to them, it is not given. Yahweh doesn't want to give them that. That's why he's speaking in parables. So those that would understand the parables, they'd be the ones that would get it. Those that didn't understand it, and there would be certain times when the disciples would say particular things, they didn't get it. What would Yahweh do? Expound unto them. Okay. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given what the understanding, and shall have more abundance, you would grow. But whosoever have not the understanding, from him shall be taken away, even that he hath, the little that he has. Therefore I speak to them in parables, dark riddles, dark sayings, in a metaphorical sense. Right? I speak to them in parables because they seeing, see not. So you see it so many times, you have to chart everything, and you're breaking it down, and someone could still be scratching his head and say, oh, well, I still don't understand. Okay, they're seeing, they see not, and hearing, they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is to fulfill the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, by hearing you shall hear. So our people hear, you're speaking this word, it goes in one ear and right out the other. Okay, and not understand, and seeing you shall see and shall not perceive. So this was future prophecy, again, being quoted through what the Old Testament. So a lot of the times when you're reading the New Testament, a lot of the things they were speaking about is through the Old Testament. A lot of their sayings were kept through what the old prophets, through the law and the prophets. And it says, and in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, by hearing you shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing you shall see and shall not perceive. So our people would hear, they still wouldn't understand. Our people would see, but they wouldn't be able to perceive. Right? In other words, comprehend. But this people's heart is waxed gross, fat, sticky. Their minds are being blocked. And their ears are dull of hearing, hard of hearing, and their eyes have they closed. And it says, eyes have they closed, the angels. Lest any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears and should understand with their heart and should be converted, and I should heal them. So that means Yahweh doesn't want all our people to be healed. And more so, through them not being healed, he could be more. If they're not healed, that means because they ain't been converted, right, to this truth. Okay? And should understand with the heart, and I should be converted, and I should heal them. So because they're not converted, what's the mindset going to be? To scoff, to mock, to not believe. Therefore, Yahushua, even now, he's more what? Justified in destroying them. Even though he's justified in destroying them anyway. But now we need a reason, and that's a reason. Because they're not converted. And to convert it is through what? That faith, through the belief in Yahushua, which he gives to you by an angel. It's the angel that what? Taps into your mind. Okay? To wake you up to this truth. There's a little bit more. But blessed are your eyes, right? And Salakia, it says, and I should heal them. So if they're not healed, that means they're still in their sins. If they're not healed. Okay. But blessed are your eyes for they see and your ears for they hear. So the brothers and sisters that can listen, that can understand this truth, what's being said. Blessed are your eyes for they see, and your eyes for they hear. But blessed are your eyes for they see and your ears for they hear. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Back at that time, because when Daniel was writing particularly these things, Isaiah was writing these things, they didn't get to see it in that lifetime, because what, they perished. But they're back here again today, so they did get to see it in this lifetime, because we believe in reincarnation. That's a part of the doctrine as well. Okay. And when you go to Isaiah 6, we go into what's being quoted by Matthew. Let's go to Isaiah 6. This ain't for all of our people. As much as obviously we're compassionate, I'm compassionate, but it's not for all of our people. Only a remnant are going to understand this truth. Let's go to Isaiah 6 and 9. And he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see indeed, but perceive not. You see, so they were going to hear, but they were still not going to understand. They were going to see, but they were still not going to perceive. Make the heart of his people fat. This was commanded by what? An angel. Right? It says, make the heart of his people fat. Block their minds. And make their ears heavy. And shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert, and be healed. Right? So if they would understand with their heart, they would convert, and they'd be healed. And they'd be saved. Then said, I, Lord, Yahushua, how long? The angel was asking, until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses be without man, and land be utterly desolate. So until the destruction. Let them be blind to the destruction, to their own destruction. And this equates with the people, even of our own families, that can't get this truth. You may have brother, sister, mother. The scripture says that. But pre-adventure, I don't know, they might be saved. Okay. This way you got to carry. This way, this is not a light thing. This is not a light thing. And the Lord have removed men far away when they're no longer out there. Right? And there'll be a great forsaken in the midst of the land. Okay. That's why count it a blessing and remain humble that Yahushua is what? He saw something within you to wake you up to this truth. Right? And not just wake you up, to have you understand the truth. Right? So with this lesson, I really hope this is edifying. And until the next time, Shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.